Alright, in the last video I showed you a few tricks to help you with your interior scene. This one's going to be pretty much the same, concentrating on how to put multiple materials onto multiple objects. Here's my scene with no materials on it. Here's my scene with materials on it. It's quite a difference. And here is a side view showing that all of my stained glass windows are unique. Alrighty. So anyways, here's my Max setup, and let me put the roof back on right here so you can see it. And right off the bat, we have a good example of a camera versus a perspective view. So let me see if I can't make that. Yeah, we'll go C for camera. Okay, so camera view right there, you can see, is much more dramatic than the perspective view. And so cameras just have a lot more features. They give you a lot of options. We haven't even explored the other types of cameras yet. So please, as you're working, use cameras. Okay, enough of that. Okay, so as we work on the scene, I think I'm going to go ahead and make that roof disappear again. And let's go into this viewport here. And so these columns and the stained glass windows, that's what we're going to be concentrating on most, because the building itself is really not that complex. If we were to look at the material editor for that, we'd see that the building has sort of your standard multi-sub object material, and here, let's say, it would be, I believe that this is the floor, and it is tiled a bit. And the columns are not tiled, but they've got a UVW map on them, so I handle the tiling and whatnot with those. And here, I believe, is the walls. It's a good idea to start labeling things, right? And here is the ceiling. Anyways, and so you can see all of those things were tiled, but they don't have UVW maps on them. There's really nothing that special about them. All right. Okay. The columns and the stained glass windows, on the other hand, they do. So both the columns and the stained glass windows carrying those UVW maps with them, the easiest thing to do would be to just make new ones at this point. So, maybe as you're starting an original project, you wouldn't go through the extra step of making copies and then deleting those copies and making new copies. I'm just doing that with you guys right now to sort of show you things, one step at a time. Okay, that being said, let's go ahead, and I think we're going to get rid of all these columns right here, and we're just going to say delete. Okay, easy come, easy go. I kept this column here just so we could have good spacing. All right, so I've got this column here, and you can see it's got a UVW map on it, and this UVW map, how they come with the planar, and we've used the box before. Well, this one has a cylinder. It just made more sense, since this is cylindrical after all. And by the way, as I move around in this viewport, note that I am in orthographic. I know I've talked to you guys a bunch of times about the difference between orthographic and perspective. And it's really nice because right now being in orthographic means that when I go to my view cube and I just say, okay, I want to go to the top, it is going to be truly top view. So with this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shift copy this right on over and get it right into here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, and this time I'm going to go ahead and just make those copies. And there's a reason why. You'll see in just a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to have that as a copy. And I'm going to make 7 of them at this time. So I can just type in 7 right here and say OK. And that will give me a whole slew of these guys. All right, and they're all placed just the way that I wanted them to be because I used that one as a reference. Let me go ahead and that first one, I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. All right, so now everything's the same. And the thing about this is that we notice that each one of these has this certain spot pattern that showed up. Each one, same place, same place. Now that looks pretty bad. So that's the reason why I made it into a copy instead of a version. All right. So I've got this one, I've got the gizmo. Let's click on another one. And so this being its own unique version, when I go here and I go to the gizmo and I say, okay, rotate, I could rotate that gizmo without affecting the others. And that way, I still have the spots, but it's not lining up with that. So you're not going to just casually notice. Okay, so let's say if I wanted to go to another one, and this one, maybe what I'll do is I'll change the tiling a little bit on it, right? And or change the gizmo a little bit on that, just to mess it up a little bit, just to change it a little bit so that they're all not the same. Okay. Okay, and so once I've got those columns all done there, then of course all I would need to do is to select them all. Nice that they're all grouped. And with my angle snaps on, I'm gonna just go Shift and here. Keep those all just as copies this time. And here. And we'll go to our top. And move them up. Good enough. Okay, and I could just quickly mess with all these guys just a little bit in order to make them all slightly unique. Okay, well that was easy. Okay, now let's do the pictures. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to select most of these pictures. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete them. Select this picture right here. And I'm going to isolate it. Picture, stained glass window. Okay, same difference here. Okay, so I'm going to go front view, and I'm going to find it right there. Okay, and by the way, I was just using my Zoom Extents All to be able to get to it because it was selected. So just by clicking on this, it made it come right to where I wanted to be. Anyways, so we've got that. And I'm going to go ahead and I've already got the edge selected here. And I want to have that having a set of 2. Yes, and so it has 2, no problem. And I'm going to go up here to my edit and select inverse. And this area here I've already pre-selected. It has a set ID of 1. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and bring a material on it, and I've already built these materials here. There we go. There's the first one. And I'm just going to slide this on over. Okay. All good, right? Well, pretty good. The thing is that I'm just not sure as that picture is centered the way that I want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and put a UVW map on it, just like so. With these selected, I put my UVW map on, and I'm going to say box. That's a good way of going. Okay, and so now I can make some adjustments to that. Get on the gizmo, and I can move it up, I can move it down. I think I'm going to stretch it out here. So what do we have? My height. Make my height a little bit higher, and move this up right here. And it seems to be right into there. Yeah, that's looking not too bad. Okay, so I think I'll keep that. And at this point, I could collapse the stack. But I think I'm going to go ahead and just leave that like that. It won't hurt anything. Okay, especially for demonstration purposes. So I'll go back to my top level. That way I can click off. That's looking pretty good. And the isolation. Okay, all good. So now I'm just going to go ahead and control click this one over here as well. And I'm going to isolate those two, bring it to my front view. See if I can find those guys. There they are. See right down here. And yeah, all good. So then I'm going to go ahead and shift copy. Oops. Make sure I only have the one selected. And it seems a little bit different with the gizmo. Like I said, I would probably have a tendency to collapse this because I'm just going to be putting my my pictures in here. But just for our demonstration purposes, you see, because the pictures are all the same. So I know they're going to all work out right. But just for our demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead, leave that there, shift copy. It works just the same. Put on over, get it just right. And let me see, what was there, like, is there 7 of these as well? No, there must be 6. 6 of these. And I'm going to leave them as copies instead of references. That way I'll have an easier time to change the picture in all of them. There they are. So I've got a whole slew of these guys. I'm going to end that isolation. Yeah. And let me see the original one. Let's go ahead and delete that. All right, so we've got all these copies. They've all got the UVW map in them. And like I say, I might have normally collapsed that because I know that the pictures are all going to work, but you know, for demonstrations. And we've got all those. And so now let's go ahead and go up to our material editor. And I've already made copies of these materials just by, you know, shift copying them like so. You've seen this plenty of times before. But I could just take this, say OK, hold down my shift key, and get yet another material. Maybe I'll go ahead and right off the bat make it so that we can view that when I get the picture on them. Okay, and so I've already changed the pictures on these, so these have different and unique pictures. This one, for instance, versus this one over here, for instance. Okay, so the next one, it's a okay, yeah, that looks fine. If it didn't look fine, I could mess with the gizmo on it, and I would just proceed to do that with the rest of these. Etc. etc. And there's just really not much more to it than that. Once again, if I didn't like the way that was coming out, I'll go here to my, select this one for sure, and I'm going to go to my polygons. I've still got the outside selected, so I'm going to edit and select inverse. Okay, so I've got those selected on my gizmo. I can mess around, moving that around. Stretching it, tiling it, doing, you know, just whatever it feels like needs to be done to make it just the way that I want it. On the other hand, if I was confident that these were all going to turn out fine, then I could have gone ahead and I could have clicked in here and collapsed it. That way I don't have to deal with the UVW map again. Well, that's pretty much all there is to it. It was just that easy. So once again, when I set up one column, had a UVW map on it, and in the UVW map, I selected the cylinder. I shift copied and made a bunch of copies of these. The VW map followed with it. I left them as copies so that I could make them all unique. With the paintings, pretty much the same thing after I had it all set up. When I shift copied them, I left them as copies so that they could all be unique. And about the only thing is that I might have originally collapsed the UVW map. Other than that, it's all good. Okay, see for camera, and we're going to take a picture of it to turn in. I'm going to go first to my render settings, just to make sure everything is the way I want it to be. Yeah, 1280 by 720, that's good. I'm going to say render. And I'm going to save it. And I'm saving it in, see, we're in the T drive and in art, and pick your period. And the project will be in the project to be My Scene 2 folder. Open that up. And I'm just going to say, alrighty, your last name, mine's Kuhn, and your first name, Robert, and your period, and My Scene, and 2. So save it as My Scene 2. Last name, first name, period number, My Scene 2. All right. And so then we've got the JPEG is the format, and we're going to save that, say OK. And that's all there is to it. We can look in here, and we'll see it in our folders. There it is. Okay, good luck with your project.